Picture this, 6 in the freaking morning on a Tuesday, and I'm standing there in pajama bottoms and a flannel, coffee burning my hand, watching some HOA goon with a reciprocating saw just slicing through my waterline like he's gutting a fish, sparks spraying onto my driveway. The screech of metal so loud it feels like the lake itself is protesting. And over on the curb, there's Veronica Brightwell, our self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, standing with her phone up, filming the whole circus like she's about to post her big win on Facebook. Let me tell you, in that exact moment I realized she had no idea what kind of storm she'd just unleashed, and buddy, she was about to regret it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I just call a lawyer, right? But sometimes, you reach an age where you don't want lawyers and paperwork. You want satisfaction. Real, old-fashioned, poetic justice. The kind you can taste, the kind your late wife would have raised a glass to. And I was about to serve it up, you know what I mean? Let me back up a sec. Before all this, I was living the good kind of retirement. The slow, quiet mornings on my dock with Martha's old thermos in my hand. The sound of loons echoing off the water, the kind of peace you can't buy even if you win the lottery. Martha, God, she loved this place. We found the cabin on a whim, 1960s cedar and charm, not fancy, just honest, and she'd joke about how the siding needed painting but had more character than any McMansion ever would. She passed 2 years back. Cancer doesn't ask for permission, it just takes. After I scattered her ashes from that dock, the place became more than home. It was my tether to sanity, my last promise to her. That's why this HOA battle wasn't just about water or money. It was personal. Enter Veronica. Picture every HOA horror story you've ever heard. Dial it up to 11. Then give her a law degree and a white BMW. She'd been running the HOA like her own little kingdom for years, clipboard in hand, navy suits even when it's 95 degrees out, and a smile that's pure barbed wire. You couldn't even sneeze in this neighborhood without her finding a bylaw against it. First time I met her was at a barbecue. They're supposed to be about burgers and laughter, but Veronica turned it into a courtroom drama over some poor guy's sprinkler hitting the sidewalk. Clipboard out, citation written, full public humiliation. That's when I knew, sooner or later, she'd come for my cabin, and sure enough, it didn't take long. My first HOA meeting should have been my last. Walked in. Every eye in the place turned to size up the rustic newcomer. And Veronica, she didn't even hide it. "You must be the gentleman with the rustic cabin," she said, like I was tracking mud onto her marble floors. 45 minutes arguing about mailbox heights, 20 on unauthorized bird feeders. Then she dropped the real bomb, water usage compliance. Pulled out a thick folder, started rambling about properties built before 1985 needing to install monitoring. Keep usage below some arbitrary number. Looked right at me while she read out the rules, and I just sat there, biting my tongue, because you don't argue water law with a crowd of people who barely know where their shut-off valve is. Now, I'd spent 40 years designing water systems for the county, built half the lines they're still using. I knew every loophole, every easement, every rule she thought she could bend to her will. She started fining me $5,000 for violations that wouldn't hold up in small claims court, let alone real law. Her plan was obvious. Make life so miserable I'd sell out cheap, bring in a more suitable neighbor. But Veronica didn't know me. She poked the bear, and when you poke a retired engineer with nothing but time and a grudge, you'd better be ready for what comes next. The first move? She sent water inspectors, couple of kids with matching polos, power tools, and blank expressions, out to my place. They hammered, drilled, installed flow meters on my well like they were prepping for the Apollo mission. Veronica hovered, barking instructions, holding her laminated HOA covenant like it was the 10 Commandments. My neighbor Hazel shuffled over, old-timer, sharp as a tack, coffee in hand. She whispered, she did this to the Kowalski family. Ran them out with fake violations, sold the house to her friend for pennies. That's when it clicked. Veronica was running a systematic campaign, targeting anyone who didn't fit her idea of lakefront luxury. So I went to the courthouse, dug through property records, read every line of the HOA charter, found my silver bullet. My cabin, built decades before the HOA even existed, was grandfathered in, immune to retroactive covenants. I wrote a response, polite, professional, loaded with legal citations, demanded she remove her monitoring equipment, cease harassment, copied every official from the county board to her law firm. Did she back down? Of course not. She doubled down, filed complaints, sent threatening letters, accused me of stealing groundwater. She started whisper campaigns, telling neighbors I was draining the aquifer, letting my well run wild, threatening our children's water security. The twist? She called an emergency meeting, packed it with newbies who had no idea how water systems actually worked, and started spinning this whole narrative about old-timers like me being environmental criminals. But see, I had a plan. The day of the big meeting, I walked in with a laptop, a portable projector, and 40 years' worth of data, slides showing aquifer levels hadn't budged in decades, proof that my well tapped a separate water table, charts that would make a geologist weep. I stood up, cleared my throat, and asked if I could add a little technical perspective. Veronica tried to shut me down, but it was too late. Once people saw the facts, her story unraveled. That's when Frank Kowalski, a Vietnam vet built like a tank, stood up and told everyone what Veronica had done to his family, how she'd harassed them until they sold. Suddenly, other voices joined in, elderly folks, veterans, families, one by one, each with their own story of fines, threats, discrimination. The room exploded, Veronica's grip on the crowd snapped. And just when you thought she'd quit, she went nuclear. Lawyered up, served me with an injunction, claimed my septic tank was polluting the lake. Local paper ran a story painting her as an environmental crusader, me as a stubborn old coot. But I didn't flinch. Demanded official testing at her expense. Turns out, my system was cleaner than half the neighborhood. The real kicker? Testing found violations in Veronica's own backyard. Her septic had been leaking for months. But here's where it gets juicy. Yeah, the survey for that testing unearthed something even I'd forgotten about. A perpetual easement written into my original deed, granting me authority over the main water line that supplied every house on the lake, including Veronica's palace. That's right, 40 years building water systems, and I'd been sitting on the one lever that could end this war overnight. I put together a little dream team, Janet Rodriguez from the County Water Authority, Frank as community coordinator, Hazel running neighborhood intelligence, Dave from the hardware store for technical backup. We planned every move, every document, every official form. Waited for the next HOA meeting, spread rumors that I was ready to surrender, let Veronica think she'd won. Thursday night, packed community center, press, cable TV, county officials, even the sheriff in the back. Veronica's got her victory speech ready, brings out her handyman, announces they're about to cut off my water for the good of the community. She turns to me for my last words, expecting a whimper. I stand, open my battered briefcase, and lay out the easement documents, maps, county letters, ask the room. Anyone ever check who actually controls this water line? Pin drop silence. I explain, every drop of water in the neighborhood runs through a pipe on my property, under an easement I control, predating the HOA by decades. Janet steps forward, confirms it, official and calm. Veronica loses it, tries to shout me down, calls me unstable, even brings up my wife's death, hoping to humiliate me. But the sheriff steps in, informs her they've been collecting harassment complaints, that she's looking at real charges if she keeps it up. I finish with the kicker, spread the original master water system diagram across the table, show everyone the location of the main shutoff. I could end water service to the whole neighborhood for maintenance starting Monday. Legally, by the book, but unlike some people, I believe in using power for good. The crowd erupts, cheers, applause, even some of Veronica's old friends clapping. After that, it was all dominoes. Veronica resigned, tried to save face, agreed to community service for harassment instead of prosecution. Her law firm quietly dropped her. Frank became the new HOA president, rewrote the bylaws. Now, any enforcement action needs approval from most residents, not just whoever's holding the clipboard. The neighbor-first policy started, help instead of harassment. I used my new rep to propose a full water system upgrade, saving everyone cash, started a scholarship in Martha's name for students studying environmental engineering, and every year now, the community hosts a festival on the lake. No more petty complaints, just people helping people, the way it should be. And you know what? Property values went up, not because of rules or fear, but because this place became a real community again. As for Veronica, Rumor has it she moved out, quieter now, maybe wiser. Maybe not. Some folks never change. But here's what matters. The biggest bullies aren't always the ones with the most power. Sometimes, all it takes is one stubborn old engineer with nothing left to lose to remind a whole neighborhood that respect beats intimidation every single time. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. Read your deed, know your rights, and never let anyone, no matter how official they seem, push you out of your own home. And more than that, remember, kindness is a choice, and so is cruelty. We build better communities when we lift each other up, not when we punish each other for being different. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done? Have you ever faced down an HOA tyrant or seen a neighbor stand up for what's right? Drop your story in the comments. Let's see how many of us there are out there who believe justice isn't just for the rule makers. And hey, if you like this, stick around. Next week, wait till you hear about the time my neighbor tried to claim my driveway using adverse possession. That one's even crazier. Yeah, that happened.